Sure.
Hi everyone, welcome to I'm a Recruiter podcast. I'm your host Prafula Devi. I'm a Recruiter is a TA community created by TA professionals for TA created. Sorry, I'm a Recruiter is a TA community, and our mission is to empower 100K TA professionals to evolve from traditional recruiter to a trusted talent advisor. If you feel our content is relevant for any TA professionals or let's say for you, then please do support us by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting on our channel. And with this, I would like to introduce our guest. So we have Anusha G, a seasoned talent acquisition pro with over a decade of experience at industry leaders like Infovision and ServiceNow. With dual master degree and proven track record of building TA processes from ground up, Anusa has truly done it all in the world of talent acquisition. Get ready to learn from her. So, fun fact about Anusha is from Hyderabad, the city of Pearl. Uh, if you would love to network and meet people, Anusa is your go-to person. She loves networking and make new connections. She is very popular in Hyderabad community for sure, and she also love watching multiple different series. She is a series buff. So with this, welcome Anusha. Really excited for today's discussion. Why don't you quickly introduce yourself to our
Thank you, Prafula. Thank you for such a sweet introduction. Those were kind words. Before I move on to my introduction, I should thank you for giving me this platform to, tell a little about myself and people to know me a little better than the ones that who already know me. Now, just to tell you about myself, apart from what Prafula told, I have about 10 plus years into talent acquisition. I've grown from a US talent acquisition into domestic hiring. I think my core subject is pharma. I am a B Pharm, M Pharm graduate into quality assurance. And I started working with a pharma company in Ahmedabad for 2 years. And then I got married to an IT guy. So I moved myself into IT to align with the culture and lifestyle of IT. So that's how I landed into human resources. I had few friends from ISB and Symbiosis sort of business schools who always told me my personality would be a good match for human resource department. So when I started looking out, probably I was very naive and I did not really know so many verticals of HR by the time I started looking out way back then. And that's how I landed into the talent acquisition opportunity with iGate. And with iGate, I've started as a US IT recruiter because my husband was working in US shift timings back then, and
okay.
to align again with the lifestyle. And then I worked with Mindlands, which is also a US recruitment consulting. And then I started from 2015, I moved to New, which is into domestic hiring, both services and products. Since then, for about 9 plus years now, close to 10 years, I've been into domestic hiring. So
Awesome.
that's in short about me. And I worked with ServiceNow for about close to 2 years, and then with Phenom for 3 years, which were core product organizations. And now again started pursuing another opportunity with Infovision, where my key aspects of hiring are internal leadership hiring and product hiring.
Thank you so much for the quick introduction. So before we start, I just wanted to know a little bit more background about you. Like, are you basically from Hyderabad itself, born and brought up in Hyderabad?
So
And what about your education background as well?
So educational background, like I said, I'm a M-Pharm grad, and then I've done my MBA only after I started pursuing HR, so that
Okay,
people don't question me how you are HR without an MBA. Right? So back then I did not realize the importance of doing it from good B schools. That is something that I think we can still do now as executive courses. But back then, if I had known the importance, I would have done it from one of the reputed B schools. I've done it from a executive distance education model back then. So, having said that, I hail from Bhimavaram. That's a place in Andhra Pradesh.
okay,
That's my native place, right? And my dad, being an engineer, he worked with All India Radio in Doordarshan. He retired
okay,
now as a director of engineering Doordarshan. And my
okay.
mom is a double MA BA. And like I think I can say decently well educated families from both the sides. So we were always grown up with that importance of education and employment, and how can you do better in life, sort of things, right? So I had to travel places because my dad was into central government job. So
Okay. Okay.
we've traveled places all across India. However, my education was mostly within Hyderabad, and then for 4 years in Andhra Pradesh, and then for 6 years in Chennai, Ahmedabad, and then Bangalore, and now Hyderabad. So all across,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And
So,
that's how I
like,
became multilingual. I think I can speak 5 languages very comfortably.
awesome. Which are the five languages,
Yeah.
Anusha?
Telugu, Hindi, English, which everybody knows, nothing special about it. But then I've studied in 6 years in Chennai, so I decently understand Tamil, can also speak a little.
Okay.
Gujarati, I think I'm as fluent as Hindi because I was the only South Indian there when I worked for 2 years, and all my friends were Gujus, and they made sure I learn Gujarati.
Yeah. I think similar case happened with me as well, right? So when after my engineering, when I came to Bangalore to do my MBA, somehow I got admitted to a college which were full of Kannadigas from Bangalore and in and around part of Karnataka. So and I and one more person was the only North Indian or outside of Bangalore or outside of Karnataka. So
Okay.
whenever we used to go to movies, again, like they take me for all the Kannada movies, Telugu movies, Tamil movies as well, and they translate everything so that I understand, and they make sure that I learn some of like the Kannada as well. So I can
Right.
understand little bit of Kannada. And my wife is basically Telugu. So some part of Telugu, even I do understand, but not much. I can relate
Right.
some of the things for sure with you, Anusha. So about your family, since you
Mhm.
mentioned your mom, dad, like, are you the only child or you had any other
Yes.
siblings?
Oh yeah, I can definitely tell that. So I have a younger sibling. She also lives here in Hyderabad. We both are in the same apartments on different floors. I stay on first and she stays on third. So all of us are working professionals. Both she has a twin daughters, and I have one 5-year-old son. So we try to manage weekends are very important for us to spend with kids because the rest 5 days we are all lost in our own lives. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's how it is. I have one younger one.
As a student, how were you? Like, definitely you mentioned that the importance of education from both of your parent, you have learned that. But as a student, how were you?
I think, yeah, that's where I tossed up a little, I must admit. I was doing pretty well till my 10th. I think I was school topper. I was always first or second. Even in 10th board, I think I was school second. But having said that, I think when I got into my plus one, plus two, the other extracurricular activities took over me. The people around me had a great influence on me from the place I've studied. So I was more into extracurricular activities, leaned back a little in education. Then I'm definitely not on the top 10 toppers, but I was still on the, they were back then, we were called Star Batch. And, I
Okay.
was a part of Star Batch, but was not the topmost performer, I can say. And as we went to college, I think the same thing continued. I think I did decently distinction level grades, I can say, but then not a topper in college, never prioritize education to that level when I actually had to prioritize. But I somehow landed with a campus placement into my pharma job, whatever I have pursued. And
Okay.
then I think it's all what I really appreciate or probably like is that because of the whatever parents have instilled or what we have developed about ourselves, one thing is for sure that irrespective of whatever profession we do in, if we try to keep upskilling ourselves, we can do better and we can stand out from the existing crowd. I think that
Yeah.
is what helps me keep pushing myself out of my comfort zone and try to keep up.
Yeah. So, since you mentioned like you were kind of a star batch kind of student, but uh, again, like there were top performers as well. Like, let's say if we need to compare now with them and you, how do you see yourself? Like, are you happy with what you are doing compared to your top performer friends or circle back
Right.
then?
I think each of us moved into different lines because all my friends are science background and now I'm working with an IT firm. So if I look at my friends' careers, they're either most of them are in abroad. I don't think people are in India anymore. There are very few people in India. And so they're into pharma. Few people are into aviation industry, into different things. And few people moved into IT working in pharmacological studies sort of departments. Okay, so if I look at my career, I think I'm on par, or don't want to call ahead because that will not sound modest, but I think we are all on par at the same levels right now. So I don't have any regrets of changing my career from pharma to IT, but except that I've wasted a lot of my dad's money for 6 years. So,
I
yeah,
think every kids might have done of our age group. Even I have wasted lots and lots of my dad's money by doing engineering. Then post engineering, I did MBA because engineering was my parent choice, and I was not having any clue at the time what I wanted to do in my life and all those things. But having said that, again, whatever we are doing good as of now.
right.
So
Yes.
you also mentioned one of the thing about like extracurricular activities as well, right? So like if you see some of the current people, definitely education is important. Do you think education is as well as equally important with extracurricular activities? Because the reason why I'm asking you this question, many, if you see popular people who are doing good in their journey, whatever they are doing, let's say they are some kind of influencer and all those things, they might not be good like from tier one colleges like IITs or IIM, but still they are doing much better compared to them. Do you think extracurricular activities is equally important to education?
See, yes, definitely. To that question, what kind of extracurricular activities or what our interests are also depends to answer that question. But yes, of course, more than education, I think what stands you out when you come into the practical life of professionality is how you have built your personality, how have you learned, how you growing yourself to fit in the zone as per the Indian market standard or current market standards. That is what matters. And I think schools these days, if I'm looking at from my kid's perspective, the school he's in, and a lot many other schools these days, I think they've also prioritized the importance of extracurriculars equal to education. Now the
Yeah,
schools themselves brand themselves as 50% education, and
yeah.
because they understand the importance of it in the world these days. So yeah, it is definitely important. That I think those sort of learning will actually help people sustain in the market without getting affected however the changes are, that way
Because they
people
will
see
have more practical experience than
right.
just a theoretical experience. During our discussion, you also mentioned that like you are a parent of like a 5-year-old kid. So how was your journey being a parent so far? I want you to be candid answer whatever it is, because this our audience will have similar kind of experience, similar kind of people
Okay.
might have faced. So be candid.
My Yeah, that's a tricky question, and my answer might not be really sounding good to people. So I consider myself not a very great mother because I spend really less time with him, but I have a wonderful husband who always is very supportive to take care of him in my absence. So it's like most of the weekdays he takes care of him even after school now and all that, and weekends I try to give my most of time to him. So that's how we have, probably we can say we've adjusted our schedules to be. So I have a feeling I can do much better if I could give him some more time. But yeah, motherhood is a total different experience, and I'm a tomboy kind of person by personality. So my friends always wondered, will I ever get married? Will I ever have a child? Sort of things. So even I was wondering, how can I be a mother and how can I deal with it? But I think it's whole different experience, and I must admit what people say, that motherhood is an experience for life. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's wonderful. I can say it's
I
wonderful.
definitely agree that parenting, motherhood or fatherhood is definitely a great experience, learning experience. So by nature, I was kind of a person who is very aggressive earlier in my career of early career days, I would say. But after parenting, you should have so much of patience, control your emotions. You shouldn't react on everything. You learn lots of different things from your kid as well. So you become much more mature, I would say.
It's a continuous evolution process, be it in terms of profession or personal life also. As in profession, this motherhood or any sort of steps we take in life is always a continuous learning curve for us to how to get better, how to treat other people well, how to self learn. We have to undo so much of our learnings what we carry
Yes.
forward from our parents, and probably look at it in a whole different perspective. So and kids these days are very difficult to answer. They make us think things, and my son is very inquisitive in that way, and I sometimes feel very proud and happy that okay, he has this thought process. The other day we I'll just give you a small example. The other day we I was asking him to brush his teeth second time, and he brushed, and he was having a chocolate. After that, I told him, you're not supposed to have after you go, once you have done for the second time. He asked, Mom, how is it logical? Tell me. In the morning, you don't want me to have anything until I brush. And now, when I'm brushing my teeth, you don't want me to have it after that. How does it work? And I'm like, logical question, correct. But I haven't
For
heard
a moment, you
anybody
were
else.
kind of a silent.
I'm like, yeah, this is how it works. And then we have to tell him how the germs act, blah, blah, and all those things. But it was a good question. So
Kids
that's
are
how,
very intelligent these days.
yes, they are.
Great. Thank you for sharing for the insightful discussion of parenting and other things as well. So now moving a little bit to your professional and
Right.
journey. So you did mention that you have done your B Pharma and M Pharma, then started your job in pharmaceutical industry. Right? So can you little bit tell us in detail how did you landed post your campus and what made you start your journey and move ahead in your career?
So, see, definitely moving into pharma was a planned thing because my education was that, and then I wanted to work with pharma. Moving into IT was not a
Yes.
planned thing for me. So, my line was quality assurance, which means we are a department of QA who does the auditing for the manufacturing
Yes.
units. So, we work in manufacturing units in a day in, day out activity. All we take care of is between the steps of production, there's something called line clearance. Okay, you'll have to
Yeah.
go,
Yeah.
you'll have to approve the environment, the machinery, and everything, and the cleanliness, hygiene of the place for moving ahead into the next step of the process. So we are like the key. I think QA plays a very authoritative role in terms of manufacturing any medication in the process, right from the starting stage till the packaging is done, and it's offloaded. QA plays a part in every place, be it documentation, line clearance through the process, risk management, and all these areas. So I quite enjoyed doing that, and that role was very interesting. The only reason for moving out was getting married, and farmers these days also work 6 days a week, and
Yeah.
our roles insist us or us to work for 12 hours a day. The shift timing would be
Okay.
at least 12 hours, and it
Okay.
is all
Okay.
physical activity. You won't have tables or chairs to sit around. You'll have offices place where you'll have systems to enter, do details and stuff, and then go around the production area. So with that things, that is where when I said lifestyle change and alignment, because then I would have got only one holiday.
Yeah.
Now I get 2 weekends,
Yeah.
2 days in
Yeah.
the week
Yeah.
for the weekend. So similar things. Now, yeah, please. That's about pharma basically. So
Okay.
I
And how long you worked there in the pharma
2 years,
industry?
close to 2 years.
Okay.
It's
Okay. So, just wanted to understand a little bit more. Since we are from TA, right? What was the TA process or the hiring process for the pharmaceutical industry as well? Like, how did you interview and all those things?
So I think because it was a campus placement for us. We had a prior aptitude and questionnaire in place, pre-screening questionnaire sort of thing in place, where we
Okay.
have questions about our technology part of it. They do understand.
Yes.
We'll try to
Yes.
see who is answering which parts of the things better, and probably we were given departments also accordingly, because
Okay.
my answers were more relevant from the score perspective, also to the compliance and documentation perspectives, and all that is the reason I was put into QA.
And since it was your campus placement, like what was the packages back then, like 10 years, 12 years down the line? Because the reason why I'm asking this question, because when I started, even for consulting, it was quite less. We started with very less, kind of 14K or 12K kind of monthly uh, salary, I would say. So
Right.
just wanted to understand how the pharmaceutical industry thing was.
That's a very good question, because that was also one of the reason I felt IT was doing better back then than pharma. Not right now. I think now both of them are at par. Back
Okay,
then, I think I've started my work with 8K. Those were the
okay,
starting salaries
okay,
for campus placement also.
okay,
Right?
okay.
like you rightly pointed, it was ranging somewhere from 8 to 12K based on whichever companies are coming in for. And
Yes,
I've gotten
yes,
a
yes.
decently good one back then. I heard that, engineering pays much better. You should have done engineering. Pharma is paying really low. And back then, I used to take money from my dad, irrespective of the fact that I was earning too. So that was a guilt factor on me. So uh, I stopped taking from the moment I got into IT, because compared to then, I think I started with 30K when I started with iGate. So
Yeah,
8K to
yeah.
30K was definitely decent for me.
Quite a
Uh,
different. Yeah, yeah.
Pretty decent. So I stopped taking money from him, and since then, I think now we've come a far way, and
Yes,
we're in much
yes, yes.
better prospects. Yeah.
So the reason why I was trying to ask you this question was because many of the campus students try to reach out to us as well. So they try to ask us different questions, and like they try to compare. These days, kids are very smart. They try to see which industry pay well and all those stuffs and all. So just trying to understand a little bit better. Because recently I was traveling to US, and while coming back, I met one of the air hostess who was just new to her job, and the pay was somewhere around like 1 lakh or more than 1 lakh per month, which was a huge compared to back our salary. But
Right.
again, like having said that, every industry have its own good pros and cons as well.
Yes, yes, definitely. See, I think it's a well-known fact. Even if we consider back then, I think air hostess and airlines people are paid better than offshore positions, we can say,
Yes,
because they have to
yes,
keep
yes.
traveling. They'll have their
Traveling and
cons
all the
of
things.
always being in certain weights. They cannot go beyond that. They cannot have food of their interest. They cannot
Yeah,
stay intact with family or their loved ones. They have to keep
that's true.
moving around.
That's true.
Everything has a pro and con, and it comes with a weight. Only those people who are ready to sacrifice few things are getting those fruits. So that's how it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
So
So when I was talking to this hostess, she mentioned the same thing which you have mentioned. Like she joined, but she was not able to see her family for almost 1 year. And like every like 30 days or 25 days, she keep traveling to multiple different places.
right,
She need to go for different shift, which again impact the health some or the other ways, which
right.
she was mentioning during our
Right.
conversation.
Because I have a very huge network, though not direct friends. I have friends in different zoners, and I he keep hearing stories. So I have friends of friends who are working in cruises
Yeah.
as managers, and
Okay.
those are girls, and they're getting very highly paid. I mean, we will be wondering if we know they'll probably getting paid 12 to 18 lakhs per month.
Okay.
That's their CTC ranges. But again, they don't. If we talk to them in person, probably they have their own struggles that they don't get to see
Yes.
people. There's
Yes.
certain
Yes.
compromises they have to do to get to that place. Marine engineers are always paid 8 to 10 lakhs per month if they are at
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
third engineer or chief engineer levels. So yeah, those are coming with certain losses at place, I must say.
That's true. Keeping yourself away from family and like not living the standard life and all those things. Great. So after that, you also mentioned that you got married after your first organization. So you moved to IT company. So how was like the transition? Like, did you find job very easily, or was there big difficulties during that time to find job?
See, because as I mentioned, I know that I wanted to move into HR, and I put my resume as a fresher because nobody's going to consider my pharma experience there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I've put it on resume, but I knew I had to be accepted as a fresher, right? So I started going into all the interviews I was getting in Bangalore. I was living in Bangalore back then, and
Okay.
I used to go for all the interviews that I get in place. I didn't know how the organizations will look, firms will look, and I even been to so many places where they were running a recruitment firm in a 3 BHK. Most of the
Okay.
Bangalore companies, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there were people who were offering. The moment we start talking, probably we went for a recruitment role, but they've offered CEO's PA role and all that.
Okay. Okay.
Sort of different sorts of things. I had to carefully analyze. One thing I can say is there was never short of opportunities. That
Opportunities.
is the best thing about Bangalore, I can say, because
Okay.
I was totally new. Neither would my by then I did not even have an MBA. I still got
Yeah.
calls,
Yeah.
enough calls to
Okay.
explore. So I think I'm very glad that I've landed up into iGate, which is now Capgemini. Even back then,
Yes,
it was 10,000 plus employees by the time I joined. So it's a very huge organization. But
yes,
from the learning perspective, I think when you start working with already set organization in place, right? The processes are so much in line that you don't get to learn and explore too much.
that's
So
true.
I was an internal recruiter. We used to hire for US iGate. And though we get to work on all the technologies across, we had vendor management system in place. The moment requirement comes in, Telio was the tool we were using back then.
Okay, okay,
Requirement comes in, it gets flashed to the all the vendors that we have. We keep getting profiles. All we do is screening. So if you ask
okay,
me
okay.
honestly, in the first 2 years of with iGate, did I learn sourcing? No, I haven't learned sourcing because there was no need. All I did was
Yep, yep,
screening,
yep.
and henceforth, yeah, that's how the the learning process has been.
Yes,
And then I
yes,
moved
yes.
to iGate, which was a core recruitment consulting, which means you have
Okay,
to be a pro at search. So that's
okay,
when I
okay,
started sourcing, and then the Boolean search, all sorts of search. Even because it's a consulting firm for US, you have to format your resume in a certain format. There should be predefined bulletins, this, that, and everything in place. It was a whole together different experience for us to learn. So
okay.
yeah.
Great. Thanks for sharing. So, since you have worked with services or and consulting organization, so how was your experience? Definitely, you have mentioned that like 2 years was just screening.
Right.
So, like, how do you see yourself? Like, was it like you were from pharma background, then you moved to I get and where you were just doing internal hiring. So, was it useful for you since you are from the quality background? Was it useful for you to do the screening part in terms of quality and all those things? Was it relatable somehow the other way?
Definitely, because see, I think when I don't have to source, I can invest a lot of time in learning. That is where we
Okay.
actually evolve and grow better. See, I have come
Yes.
from a place where when I started with my job and a vendor called me to ask, hey, are you the one who's working on C sharp requirement? I didn't know a hash mark is called sharp in engineering language. I am that basic when I started. I was like, what is this guy talking? C sharp? What is it? And then and then it's like .NET requirement. I'm like, oh yeah, yes, I'm the one who's doing it. And then I took over the conversation from there. And then
Okay.
I understood, okay, it's called C sharp. From there to now, if you ask me 10 years down the line, now if you name any technology, including the latest Gen AI, LLM models, anything, I can speak technology at length. What is needed, what skills are needed, what do you have to look for? And so that's how we evolved. So there was a lot of time for me, just that we did not source, even to screen and talk to candidates. From screening the profile to talking to candidates, everything we do. So for that,
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
to be technically at least knowledgeable enough to have that conversation. So
Yeah.
we used to
Yeah.
do a
Yeah.
lot of research on all the technologies we have to hire for. And we had customers like Rockwell Automation, MetLife. Those were all. We hired embedded engineers back then when IoT was not even in boom. Yeah, so there was a lot of technology scope that I got to understand and learn. There is something called flag. Pink flag is a technology I'm sure half of the people still wouldn't have heard. I worked on it back then in 2014. Okay, that's a security related technology, data security related tech tool. And we were supposed to hire a pink flag technology analyst for
Okay.
US.
Okay.
So everything was very new, but at the same time, I've got enough time to research and learn and understand technology, get better at it.
Okay. And as a recruiter, right? Like, what kept you motivated and what kept you help learning yourself or upscaling yourself?
Right.
Because sometimes when you feel that the job is not very interesting, or let's say if it is not very, or let's say it is very monotonous, your
Right.
motivation level gradually go down. So, what
Right.
kept you motivated and how you upscale yourself?
So, yes, to answer that, I think recruitment is a kind of job where you really have to be passionate to certain extent for you to be,
Yep.
driven to stay motivated in the first place. I know there'll be days where we feel low. Every profession has that,
Yes.
but I think you have to be really driven passionately to be a part of recruitment industry on a long run, because you are basically not just talent advisors but also the experience creating people. When you become a talent acquisition personnel, we are the face of the industry. We also have to make sure the hiring managers are happy, the stakeholders are happy. We have to ensure the business targets are met, and we also have to ensure the candidate is having a good experience because we represent the organization to them. So to upskill, more than upskilling in terms of technology and all, how you are evolving as a good recruiter matters, right?
Okay.
What are the skills you're adapting yourself to create all these experiences in place? How thorough are you with the communication part? How transparent are
Okay.
you with the interview process, right? These are the things which can help us stand out and probably be appreciated, be it by the delivery heads or stakeholders or the candidates, that hey, yes, I can rely on this person if I'm interviewing with this organization, right? And the same thing goes for your employees also. You being a talent personnel, you'll have hundreds of referrals flowing into the system for each requirement from your employees. You have to make sure your employees are well engaged. You're giving them either it's a yes or a no, we will look into it. You give them a timeline, we'll get back to you in 72 hours, you'll see a response from us, sort of things, right? Our thing is all about recruiter experience, candidate experience, employee experience, hiring manager experience. So I think we are experience creators and
Totally agree.
talent advisory board.
So after your movement, like let's say now when you have joined a new organization,
Mhm.
so how do you see like upscaling? Definitely, we are talking about upscaling with different
Right.
experiences and all. How was your journey? Was there any kind of challenges during your journey? How did you overcome those challenges? Like everyone have different path, so some
Right.
face different ways, some face different challenges. So what was your challenging moment and how did you overcome those challenging moments, Anusha?
Definitely. So, see, rather than calling it challenging, because we're talking about upskilling, and my previous conversation has been limited to, how a recruiter should upskill themselves
Yeah,
as a
yeah,
personality over skill. If we talk about skill, see, recruiter is somebody who's supposed to bring in whatever is the right talent for the right role. That being the
yeah, yeah.
underlying statement for us. Technology is something you can always understand from the business point of view, find the available talent and place them. But upskilling in terms of the recruitment practices that we have and number of tools coming in place, even when it comes to AI, you have multiple AIs available. You have Chat GPT, you have Gemini, you have Perplexia AI, right? There are so many other AIs which are available in market. You should know which one to be used for what, right?
Yeah,
Perplexis AI is used for design sort of AI, right? Chat GPT gives you more defined statements, structured statements, and Gemini gives you more detailed comprehension of the data, because Gemini is Google's and Google has been mastering the data collection for
data
ages
related.
now, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
the LLM model of Gemini is definitely stronger than anybody else if it goes to historical data and till present, right? So we'll also have to know, and we'll only get to know these things once. One thing is that you start exploring, as in when something comes into the market, you definitely need to take some time out to read about it, understand what are the differences, and then put in practice. Obviously, we don't get much time beyond our working hours to do all these things, but maybe 30 minutes a day, whenever you get some free time before you go to bed. I do it once I go to bed. To be very honest, once I put my son to sleep, I'll have a good me time for 1.5 2 hours, which is
Okay,
watching series, movies, and all that. And then after relaxing, then I look at all the chats on the I'm a part of so many HR groups, or I am recruiter, and so many other groups where there is one or the other contentful and insightful conversations going on across others. We might
okay,
not get throughout the day to conversate, but we certainly have time to slide them through and see there is something to learn from. Likewise, if there's nothing insightful on one or the other day, probably if you have something which is relevant to your role that you have to look at, then you can always go and search and try to find out. So I think similarly, I have myself implemented, try to use Copilot for deriving analytical data from my Excels. Okay,
okay.
likewise, we even tried our hands on Chat GPT for data analysis.
Yeah,
So these are not something that we can become pro or proficient on day one. I'm very sure we cannot, but we can slowly try to understand and get better at things. So I think recruiters can get themselves into a better place by doing all these things. Coming to the challenges question that you asked me, see, I wouldn't say challenges, but to speak on practical terms, right? I think product industry's culture is very different from a service industry culture when it comes to people mindset in terms of hiring and the demand for the role that you have. Products have a much leveraged time period for them to hire any resource because their resources are not just internal driven, right?
Yeah.
They do not have
Yeah.
a customer dependency for the role. So even if you're taking longer than expected, I think it can be internally dealt with stakeholders, hiring managers, and be taken care of. But when it comes to service industry, I think it's a very pressurized industry where everybody is answerable to one or the other person, and it's all about billability, getting money for the organization. Everybody will be totally money driven conversations and less from the sensibility point of view, from understanding okay what is available in market and what can be brought to the picture. I think this is where I understand, or my experience is that uh, we play a very stronger role in service industries with the kind of experience we bring in than product industries, because even in product industries I have that leverage to talk to my stakeholders, tell them that hey, this this can be worked out in this budget, and it is very flexibly moving around in terms of numbers in most of the product organizations. When you come to services industry and you have to deal with a stakeholder and they give you a very less budget, let us say, from the available market, you have to do the market analysis, show them a data of like 50 to 100 consultants around the same experience range coming from the organizations that might fit for them, look at all the data, show them the data and say, hey, your budget won't work, you have to do better. So that's how we play a talent advisory role, and we also have to give a lot of insights to them how it works, not just going by what they want to make it work. So this is a challenge that I've seen, that maybe people would be in a they will be in their own thought process that they need all these technologies within this
Yeah.
cost. Like, no, if you need these technologies, this is the cost you get. And if you either you compromise on the technology or expertise of the person, or you increase your budget. Do either of those things. Or the experience range should be compromised. Anything,
Yeah.
whichever works.
Yep. Yep.
Yes.
Yep. And how do you influence your stakeholder back those days when you were working with services plus now when you are working with the product organizations?
So I think my first domestic experience was with New, where I was there for 5 years. It is very highly cultured organization, I must say, Profile.
Okay.
I'm very glad. I mean, the reason for moving out of them also was because they wanted to change the entire hiring into RPO model back then,
Okay.
and because
Okay.
because of that reason, they wanted us to all move out of the organization. If that situation wouldn't have come, I probably would have still been a part of New, because it is such an amazing, well cultured organization. So when I moved from that to Service Now, I did not see any cultural change or the
Okay.
way I dealt with my hiring managers and all, because it was totally, I think, a high life service based industry, I can say. So,
Yeah.
so I did not see much change when I moved to product, but now after working in product for 5 years and then moving back after 5 plus years again into a
Yeah.
model where there is both services and products, the leadership level thought process is little different from our product people leadership. So
Okay.
we have
Okay.
to really talk to them through data. See,
Okay.
nobody will listen to you if you give them stories. You
Yes.
have to
Yes.
show numbers and data in place for whatever we do. So only when we have a defined data in place, we can tell them. And see, sometimes what we have to do is we have to go in line with what their expectation is. We have to try
Yeah.
a few candidates out. And once you see the results of that, we should speak with the results. For what you're demanding, this is the available pool. So now we have to tweak our need accordingly. If you want to find the right fit, these are the things we have to do in place. So it's all data which speaks, and it's all the experience that you make sure that you are trying to showing them the experience, and then showcase the experience for betterment of the process. I
Sure.
know these things might for a few roles take some time, but that's how it works.
So now moving to the next question, Anusha, since you have both IC level experience, you have moved to an manager level experience as well. So how what's necessary to have the transition go smoothly? What are the things required to become a manager?
So I think one uh, glad thing or a good thing about talent acquisition is that irrespective of whichever levels you move into, right, the kind of roles that you work on keeps changing, right? I think
Yeah.
no director or of talent acquisition is completely hands off. right? They do take up roles, but it depends. Now I do leadership hiring. Before that, I used to do all sorts of hiring, right from consultant level to architect level, right? So it is based on the need of the hour, how you correspond yourself to be available to meet the delivery needs of the business. Other than that, what I've learned through the process is definitely from the other leaders that I worked with, right? So in I think to my luck, I worked with leaders like Ramesh Talagampa in ServiceNow, and Usha Murthy was our skip level manager. We just got to
Okay.
interact once, but they are now Ramesh is senior VP in Uber, and Usha Murthy is with Google. So those are the kind of leaders I've got to experience with, and he was one of the leader I would love to mention because I look up to, and probably we have learned so much from him. He's somebody who's taught us how to deal with stakeholders, some difficult stakeholders that you cannot impress, or the difficult stakeholders who have Seymour syndrome. We call this Seymour syndrome, where they want to see more and more profiles irrespective
Yes,
of the
yes,
good
yes.
candidates they find. How to deal with such stakeholders, the sort of things. So, if I'm answering to your question correctly, I learned from him how to always take stand for your team, irrespective of whatever business might say. Come internally and talk anything to your team, make your team work, but front facing, you should always support your team.
Totally agree.
And always go back to business with data. Data is the only thing that can keep us saving. And also, introspection through the data on a timely basis is important for us internally within the team, to see how is our ratio, how is your quality of profile, and how is it converting, how many interviews do we have to do to get one placement in board. And for let us say one of the roles, if it is taking time, where is it going wrong? Is it in the stakeholders expectations, or is it in our quality of profiles, or what else is going wrong? These sort of things, I think it's evolved over a period, Prafulla. So I think
Okay.
everybody gets there through period. And for me, what helped is working with good leaders, I can say.
Okay. And the reason why I was asking this question is because there are many ICs available there in the market who want to become a manager. They want to learn, but before like moving to a manager role, they wanted to do different kind of courses, certification, so that they can become much prepared.
Correct.
So, do you think there is any kind of courses they should focus before moving to like any kind of courses? Like it can be people management, it can be time management. What do you suggest?
So,
This?
okay, this will be a very generic answer, because
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
look at
yeah.
my profile, I'm
Please, please.
somebody who hasn't done any certifications, Prafulla. And probably
Okay,
I
okay.
wouldn't say I'm not very proud of it, or I wouldn't say that's how it should be, because what I understand from other colleagues and friends is that doing timely certifications and taking professional courses will definitely help us get better. People should
Yes.
keep doing it. But if you ask me, those are mandatory for you to move into managerial level? No. I think we will become managers or something above that only with how you're excelling at your current role, and how you're
Okay.
pushing beyond yourself beyond to deliver better, do something better. Right? We should never restrict ourselves to a role. Let us say if there's a sourcer in place, he should not just restrict it to sourcing. He should try to explore, go beyond, and become an end-to-end recruiter. An end-to-end
Yeah.
recruiter should always try to excel themselves, taking up more number of maybe they should expand their stakeholders horizon. Maybe somebody is dealing with 5 of them, they should start dealing with 10 stakeholders, 15 stakeholders at once. And how many different roles do you support, not just number of positions that you're hiring. Let us say if you're hiring 20 positions, same role, you're not getting much exposure. But if you're hiring 20 positions for 12 different skill set, that is where your expertise is lying. It totally depends on the kind of visibility that we will get. Is also depends on what kind of role visibility you have in the organization. Like you should also have a scope for it. Not everybody gets a chance to do it, but when you're getting a chance to do it, you have to take it up and try to excel and get better. Try to get
Yeah.
as much knowledge as you can. And I always believe whenever we move organizations, there should be something newly to be added to your profile. Otherwise, you shouldn't change. With every change, you should either learn something from your current organization, and then when you're moving into the new organization, you already have on your mind that, okay, this is going to be added to my picture, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I took up Infovision from Phenom, for example, I knew I'm going to hire for products which are into AR, VR technology, which I haven't worked so far. Augmented
Okay.
reality and virtual reality. They have a product called VCollab, which is 3D automotive designing, okay, simulation designing, and which I never hired in 10 years. Uh,
Okay.
and they have another product which is blockchain. I never worked on blockchain. Okay, I
Okay.
worked on AI
Okay.
ML for past 5 years. I did that, and I think I'm quite comfortable around that area. But uh, blockchain technology, AR, VR were not my forte, at least in the last few years. So I definitely knew I'm taking up and signing up for something that I'm not aware of, and I'm going to get a
Okay.
learning about these things. So internal leadership hiring, though we do it on an offline basis, is different. And now I have about 27 positions which are leadership hiring across the organization, which is a very huge number. Leadership hirings take time to
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
fill in. So everything is going to be a different experience. So I think every person has to look at it that way if they want to excel themselves or grow into from an IC into a manager. Certifications will certainly help adding knowledge to you. It cannot make you practically a manager. Practically a
Yeah.
manager will be done by how you mold things around.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Totally
and
agree.
push
And
yourself to get better.
since you have been in the recruitment industry for almost like 10 plus years now, so which is one of the best thing in recruitment you love doing?
I think it's human interaction. I must say, I have this fanatical interest for human psychology. Okay. I
Okay.
love talking to people, understanding people from the inner side of them. And I think talent acquisition is one such platform, even in human resources, as a vertical, if you have to see, talent acquisition plays a very imperative role. Be it is a very effectively contributing role, and it's also very impactful in terms of success of the business as well as the candidate. We're trying to map
Yep. Yep.
two people in a win-win situation. Now, having said that, uh, I think that keeps me motivated. I come across different sorts of people, and the people how they react to rejections, how people react to offers, how how calculative everybody becomes the moment they have a offer in place. See,
Yeah. Yeah.
when you talk to people at the starting of the conversation, most of them, right, might have a different perception. When they know they're getting
Yes.
selected, they might have a different thought process. See, there's nothing wrong in it. As a TA person, I'm getting that leverage to understand human thought process, right? And that is how we become better recruiters, because when we talk to candidates down the lane at this experience, we somewhere has a hunch that yes, this person is seriously pursuing, this person is pursuing to shop around in the competitive market, or this person is really interested in getting placed into my organization, irrespective of whatever sales pitch you give about the organization, benefits, values, everything. Beyond that, there is that human psychology instinct that every talent acquisition personnel will have, where they know what's going to happen. So
Yeah.
that's
And
the
they can
beauty, I
sense
feel.
as well, right?
Yes, that's what that beauty. That's the beauty of talent acquisition, I guess.
Okay. What do you think about like people management? Like, is it because every manager, every individual, every TA person is different? As a TA leader, our job is to manage our team. Our job is to motivate our team. Our job is to coach, mentor, and inspire our team as well. Right? So,
Right.
how do you see people management as a TA leader?
Yes. So I would say I've been managing teams for like 3 4 years now, not beyond that. Beyond that, I was most of an individual contributor. But for the past 4 years, what I've seen is we have to be equally accepting in what they also suggest. You should not, you should never, you can be a very good, team player along with them. That's how you have to start with. Of course, you will have the authority to make decisions, but you'll also have to understand their perspective. I think hearing and communication is one strong thing that can keep the team intact. Okay. So once you're trying to put a strategy in place for hiring or anything, it should not be a one person decision, it should be an informed decision. And at the same time, you should have an information flow from your teammates also. You should hear their perspective, we should understand if there are pros and cons of each other's thought process, and bring to the table whatever is the best, right? That will help them also to lean on to us for anything they have on mind. At the same time, they'll deliver best for you when you don't push them too much. See, pushing doesn't
Yep.
help all the time. Working as a core team player alongside with them will make us better leaders.
Totally agree. Really agree.
Yeah. So
Like,
this is the key thing.
I would definitely agree, and I have worked with multiple different leaders, but where personally I have performed is where there is a leader who is working closely with you, right?
Right.
Who is not just instructing you to do things, but someone who is a team player, who is guiding
Right.
you. Yeah, yeah.
And,
You were
and
able
and
to say something.
sometimes your teammates can be very youngsters who
Yeah,
are
yeah,
more research oriented than you may not get time for it, and they come up with very easy practices, and they might say, hey, you don't have to do so much for this, you just have to use this tool, you get in place, you get all the data. And we should not be in a place to think, who are you to tell me? No, we
yeah.
have to say, okay, I'm learning something from you, irrespective of the age, irrespective of the experience, anything. All we have to do is, both ways, it should be upskilling, reskilling, learning and unlearning things. That's how it has to be.
So another question is related to networking. You as a person who is who love to meet people, who love to network as well, and you are very popular in different communities as well. So when did you realize that as a recruiter you have to do networking, you have to go and attend multiple different communities event? So can you
Right.
give us some detail about that?
Sure. Prafula, I think I realized it very late in my career, and I regret that thing. I just started going about a year back, I guess.
Okay,
So,
okay. And what
so
made you realize?
okay, so that realization came. I wouldn't say it's a realization. I started enjoying it once I started being a part of it. I was organization to be a panel on their discussion, and I was very new to these roundtable conferences, being on a panel discussion. I probably never knew the term moderator until I've been a part of it. And this
Okay,
was last
okay.
year, because I wasn't attending. Though I was a part of Grace Hopper's virtual event.
Conferences.
I've been
Okay.
a part of SHRM. These sort of events I have been a part of, but they were not panel discussions as such. So I was part of virtual stalls in the era of COVID, and I have took part in few of the HR networking events in a virtual manner. So I never got to experience on stage. And once I was called in as a panel, I just took it up to see how will it go. And then from there, I think I've seen what can I learn from this. I had few others who shared the stage with me were much senior to me. They were either at a director level. I was still an assistant manager back then when I took that opportunity up, and I was on the panelists along with senior directors, and there was one VP, and there was one girl who was a CEO herself. She was a founder of her organization, and all of us were put together to speak about talent acquisition. And that being my first place, right, I think I took the conversation very casually. I did not really answer like bookish answers, and I was talking out of my experience, and people started appreciating it after I got off the stage. And I think that was a motivating factor for me, that I felt, okay, if this my first experience is like this, I can do better when I go for further discussions, because I certainly was feeling nervous inside. I know I
Yes.
was very nervous, but I think I managed it well to not show it on face. So people were appreciative enough of what I delivered in terms of speech, and and few people came to me and said, you spoke to the point, which is a good thing. And I'm like, okay, I can do better, maybe. And there was a lot of learning from others' perspective, right? When you
Yes.
hear from other leaders, they are somebody who are in the industry for more than a decade experience. They have 2 decades, 15 plus years. They are pros in this business than us. So there is always a new different perspective to hear and understand from people. And I think one of the good leader quality or the managerial quality is also that you don't just skill yourself, you also implement what you're hearing from other people, right? The strategies, what worked for other organizations, you should start implementing it. Only then will you realize the importance of it. Is it really successful or no? So
Agree.
these things I've started doing it in my life. When once I hear a strategy from someone, we try implementing it. So I think at Phenom, we used to follow the hiring process of Amazon. Amazon has a
Okay.
hiring funnel method of doing the recruitment metrics on a weekly basis. That is what we used to follow. It is a replicated model, but it is an effective model to practice. So now with that, I think I'm implementing it in InfoVision now for a more derived analytics of our recruitment metrics. So likewise, everything that you learn from others, you should bring in and implement as and when needed. That's when you can build better teams, better processes in place, and you can help your organization in the best way possible. So
Sure,
there's one
sure.
more technique I want to tell everybody. It can help definitely. Is that the super five model that we have implemented as a team. So for every rec you have, make sure you have five potential candidates in pipeline, and that five should never go down until you have a hire in place. If you make sure you don't need more profiles, just five good ones, right? So if you make sure these five are in place and you track them on a regular basis, on a daily basis if needed, until you get hold of the process and until everybody starts following the process, your hiring turnaround time becomes really less, and the
Okay,
number of profiles you use also become very less. So that really worked well for us, for our turnaround time to be reduced by a lot, and for the quality of profiles. We as recruiters, or my team, was making sure that we are giving the topmost five profiles that are available in the market for that.
okay,
So that
okay,
Superfly technique will work amazing, and I think once we started using it, I've been implementing it everywhere I go for my
okay,
teams.
okay.
Yeah,
I think most of the leader have some or the other techniques which they have learned and experimented. And so, thank you for sharing your technique as well, Anusha.
yeah,
Great. Again, like, good to know that you love meeting new people and do networking as well. And but again, like, I still believe that TA folks out here in our organization, in our industry, are not so vocal or comfortable to go and network as well, right? Because there
right,
are TA itself is a huge like function, I would say. Not only function, lots of people are there. If you see in LinkedIn, just as research wise, if you do, like, more than 4 lakh TA professionals you can see only in India, which
right,
are active currently. But
right,
if you go to different events and seminars and all, you just see some 100 or 200
right.
people. Not everyone is
Yes,
so active as well. So there
right.
is huge potential for everyone to upscale as well. And sometimes I feel bad that people are not utilizing this platform to upscale and learn and communicate and grow with each other.
I have something to add there when it comes to networking. Probably I stopped at how I started and how I
Yeah,
started getting impressed about things. But I think networking, certainly, I strongly believe, and that is also one of the reason since last year, though I picked it up very late, I made sure I'm very consistent in my appearance at whatever ways possible and in the time that I have, so that there's always a learning, Prafula. I strongly believe I did not even attend one single HR meet so far in the last 1 year without one takeaway, at least one takeaway. Even if it's just 20 to 30 people is the minimum range that they attend, and the maximum for the larger events is 150 to 200 people that you see. Those are for the very huge
yeah,
events,
yeah,
but
yeah.
otherwise the regular meetups will have 30 to 50 people.
32, yeah.
Now, so every time you get to meet 15 new people, let us say, and let us say 15 are commoners like me and few others, we get to understand 15 different organizations, hiring perspectives. Either we will get to know there is a new organization that exists in the market, and what are they into, what are their hiring practices, and what are the challenges, right? Now, being a part can also help you. You will be self evaluated in the process, that, oh, are you able to answer their questions? Are you able to find solutions to their problems? Do you have strategies in place for somebody having a challenge? That it is self introspection that comes into place when you start interacting, start having those insightful discussions, or you get to learn from others. Either you give them some takeaway or you take it from them in terms of learning. And it also depends on our inquisitiveness, Prafula. Being a part of networking sites is one thing, and how effective do you want to turn those conversations is going to be totally dependent on us. So now you go and say hi to someone and just know what the organization they're working, that is just networking, right? I think we should utilize these platforms much beyond just saying hi, hello. We should understand what their recruitment practices are. We should understand what tools are they using, what tools have they used in past, which one is working better for them, right? Now your current organization may not be in a need to change your ATS or may not need a new HRMS system really, but this knowledge is somewhere going to be useful to you personally down the lane, that you know the best practices and best tools in place for your knowledge, because you've been in industry, you're supposed to know few things which comes in handy. Probably these are also a few things that the networking will give us a platform to, and we should know how to utilize. Yesterday, I met a guy from Deloitte in a TSOW. We attended a TSOW meetup yesterday, and there was one guy from Deloitte who was a digital transformation HR. The name itself was very fancy. I spent some time around him to understand, hey, what does your day in day out activity look like? What do you guys have to do, right? And all they do is to the customers they take end to end strategy building for their customers. How should they turn around their numbers, how should they plot around annually, and how strategically should they will even suggest which vendors to use for their hiring, to that extent. Now I didn't know
Okay.
this kind of role exists, to be very honest. I didn't know there was
Okay.
a separate digital transformation HR in place. So I was happy to know that new thing. Likewise, one HR came from automotive vertical, so I had a
Yeah.
conversation with
Yeah.
him to understand, okay, so you're coming from Hyundai. So how does it work for you? How does your HR calculations work? For them, sales, marketing, and HR all together is the same. And he was a regional head for half of India. So he was giving me all his statistics and what are the strategies they use to make sure their stakeholders are intact, that their business is intact. How do they maintain their deliverables and all that? So everything is a learning that we get, not necessarily that you have to get every learning only from IT tech industry. It
Agree.
can be
Agree.
different domains. The strategies can still be useful for you to learn and implement in your organizations as and when needed. That's how it has to be.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
networking is a great platform. I'm very happy to see from the last couple of meetups that we go, the colleges, like good MBA colleges, students are coming up to explore how are these
Okay.
HR's careers
Meetups.
looking like. They're coming to interact. They're
Okay.
kids with
Okay.
20, 21 years age. So it's very, I mean, I feel very happy that students of this age are coming up with that initiative to know how HR life cycle is gonna look like, or how this career is gonna look like. Should they really opt for talent acquisition or a journalist role or a HR business partner? Because HR meets are a club of all the verticals. So
Yes.
I started pretty late, but I would say better late than never. It is a fantastic
Yes.
platform. And I must appreciate you. You are one of the pioneers in creating one such platform. And I can't wait to be a part of I am recruiter in Hyderabad in August. So
We are also really excited about I'm Recruiter meetup in Hyderabad. For the first time, we are doing here. So really excited. And I think still some groundworks are still going on. We'll have more updates very soon from the team. We are almost on the time. But before we
sure.
wind up, just wanted to understand few basic details. So apart from recruitment, what do Anusha love to do when she's not working?
Okay. This might sound bad. Like, I'm really not a person who has any hobbies or anything in place. Okay. So when
No, it's okay. Whatever you
this is
love
a
to do.
difficult question. So I think the one thing I love to do is I watch a lot of series. I used to watch movies in the past when before
Okay.
COVID era. I can say that there was a time probably I watched all four shows in a single day, back to back. And
Same,
I go to
same. I
movies. Yeah. So that is something I love. Movies fantasize me. I like thinking about those roles again, and I'm very emotionally connected to movies or series or anything that I watch. I take a place of a character and then I start relating it to till the end. So yeah,
yeah.
so that's what I do. That's
So
my favorite pastime. Yeah.
so since you have mentioned about movies, right? So is there any movie which have influence in your life some or the other way?
Not really. I mean, yeah, I don't get influenced by anything, I guess, which is a wrong thing, which is a very bad thing, which my parents are really worried about, that I don't get influenced by anything and people can't change me for what I am. I'm very consistent in my self-built way, and there's nothing very inspiring or as such. But yeah, I think when I watch movies about countries and country and soldiers and all this, I just get carried away. I have huge respect for them, but Anusha, will you do something about it? No. It's just that momentary emotional thing that I will have. I get emotionally high when I watch any sort of things that move me, right? Be it Indian soldiers or some people who work for their country, and otherwise, I love thrillers, suspense, and horror movies. Yeah,
Okay.
and I
And
watch a lot of
do
Crime Patrol and Dexter sort of
okay.
series where my husband is really scared how I turn out to be in future, but
Okay. So, apart from recruitment, do you also do you have any favorite book of yours?
favorite book
Favorite
of
book?
mine, is it? No, I'm not a reader. I don't read books, but I've started Atomic Habits. I've come halfway through. I'm liking it, and I started this because my brother suggested, we will see a lifestyle change if we do this. I'm a nocturnal person by lifestyle. I sleep around 3:30, 4 a.m. in the morning. I sleep barely for 4 5 hours. Uh, so that's how I manage my sleep. So I think I want to work on myself. I think I can get into a better lifestyle of, sleeping a little early, at least by 12:30, 1 o'clock, and then waking up is anyways non-negotiable. I wake up by 6 because my son has to go to school. So basically, Atomic Habits is something which I'm reading and I'm liking it. Other than that,
Okay.
I've already read Amit Trivedi's 3 books of Secret of the Nagas, and all these 3 series I've read. I liked it. That is the only book which I've completed in series.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
usually, I'm not a avid book reader or a book lover, but if I get
Okay.
time, I think if I read it, I'm enjoying it, but I'm not taking time out to read them. So yes,
Okay. So you are a tea person or a coffee person?
tea person, not a
Okay.
coffee person
And
at all.
like in tea, like do you like ginger tea, masala tea, or a plain tea?
No, I think it's a plain tea, strong tea, but I think being a Hyderabadi, it's Irani chai. So
Okay. Okay.
yeah.
Good to know.
So
Good to know.
if you're
And
coming Hyderabad, you should taste Irani chai for sure.
sure, definitely. I love Hyderabad with different biryanis for sure. In one of
Mhm.
the podcasts, we discuss about like bawarchi biryani. So I have tasted bawarchi biryani and I love it. And
Okay.
apart from that, I long back during 2013 or so, sorry, 2014 or so, I went to some places where they have given different kind of dosas and all those things. But it long back.
Right.
I'm not sure if it is there or not. I'm big foodie as well. So
So
definitely
you
I
must visit. Be somebody is coming from Bangalore to Hyderabad. Two good things you get, because I lived in Bangalore. I am also living in Hyderabad, so I know the two good things about Hyderabad is, yes, one is you have food available throughout 24/7 everywhere. Okay, you can actually plan a food date for the entire day. That's how my cousins do when they come from Bangalore to, for 2 days. Like all throughout the day, we keep going to different places to have the best food around, from street food to good restaurants. And the other thing is, I think economical living. I think more than Bangalore, Hyderabad is more economical
yes,
in living
yes.
standards. So these are the two things. And I think Hyderabad is gonna compete with Bangalore in traffic. So no comments about it.
So any favorite place you have visited earlier or you want to visit?
See, I think I enjoy traveling. I love mountains. I believe. I mean, only once I started going there, I started loving mountains, and I like peace, serenity, and all these things. But I think I would want to go north, visit Norway, Northern Lights someday.
Okay,
And at least
okay,
to start with, I want to go Leh Ladakh. Uh,
okay,
I have plans to go Dubai this year, so hopefully that will happen next year. Leh Ladakh, and then probably other countries. We'll see.
okay. Last question. Any piece of advice you have received from any of your leader in your recruitment journey, which you would love to share with others?
Yes, definitely. And advice is always something where you can get better, right? That's when people advise you.
Yeah.
So yes, I've received a couple of feedbacks, or advice from my leaders who work closely with me, is that I am a little emotional person by personality, I guess. So when I work with organizations, either I mean, in my earlier days, I've got attached to my organization so well that I don't want to move out, right? When from new, so that's when my leaders said, "Hey, these things keep happening at an org level, right? You should never get attached to an organization." And I think that is a good takeaway for me. You should never get attached to any organization that you work with, or team you work with, or people you work with. It should be kept to a certain extent, and it is learned hard way, right? That is one thing. And I was also told that maybe some conversations, when you see, I'm a sort of person who would like to give an example or a practical thing for any conversation I have. I talk from
Okay.
experiences, right? What I've
Okay.
experienced. My leaders do tell me one of my leaders told me that Anusha, maybe the opposite person, we should always see what the opposite person wants. Sometimes we have to keep the conversations very crisp, right? You don't have to give a real time example everywhere, right? I
Okay.
We understand your intention that you want to be more comprehending in your
Vocal.
answers, but no,
Yeah.
right, you have to keep it very cut short. So that is something I think I'm continuously working on myself, that you have to have more crisper conversations in place. But emotional thing is something I, even if I want to work on it, uh, it'll take a tough toll on me, because I'm very emotional. Even when it comes to, see, I think this is not to be publicly spoken or anything. Let us say there are organization politics in place. Every organization has does
Yeah.
at some or the
Yeah.
other level,
Yeah.
right? And people don't speak about it. So
Yes. Yes.
if we have to come out of that comfort zone and speak about it, I think I'm somebody who will get uh, emotionally affected by such things, which is not good,
Okay.
which is definitely not good for us being at a leadership level. You are not supposed to react to such things, and you're supposed to maintain a calm, composed way of taking things. Sometimes I get emotionally carried away, and I probably don't entertain, and I'm very defensive in nature when such things happen. So those things have to be,
You shouldn't react.
and one of the
Great.
leadership quality is poker face. Sorry, no, we can stop here.
Just before winding, last piece of advice from you related to recruitment or related to community you want to give our budding recruiters or recruiter who are just started their career.
I think we've almost covered all of that through our conversation. Just to revise the points, I can say uh, passion is something that you need to have at a ground level for you to be motivated throughout and keep working and keep excelling to do better. Second thing is that always use your networking events and platforms and all the HR groups that we can be a part of, to have, when you don't have time to research yourself, there are people around giving you a lot of insights about what is happening in the
Yes.
industry to upskill ourselves. So we have to use them to our best of availability, and then whatever we are learning, we should start implementing it in our career, and always push ourselves to just by either by upskilling or from whatever current roles we are performing. We have to always push beyond boundaries ourselves, beyond our own boundaries, put ourselves in some discomfort zone, uncomfortable zone, so that you can excel better and move to next stages in life, right? If you're really career oriented and you want to achieve places in life, I think that is what we have to do. It is a continuous painful journey, but in the given competitive market, until unless you're driving yourself at that pace, you don't stand out from the crowd. If you want to be unique, you have to work hard for it and earn it.
Yes, thank you so much, and really appreciate. Definitely, you have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation if you want to grow your new career. And I think I have seen lots of different leaders taking up new projects, new work, so that they are learning new things and they are constantly growing and all. So if you want to grow in your career, you have to put yourself out of your comfort zone for sure. Not only in recruitment, anywhere, anything
Praful,
you want to scale.
adding to that point,
Yeah.
not every time we see, when I say put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, it's not necessary, right? We have to drive the scope of work from what we have in available picture, from whatever
Yeah.
you have in
Yeah. Yeah.
resources. You have to be smart enough to find out the scope of work for you to grow. So not every organization will give you a scope to or a career path to grow, right? It is in your hands also, that how effectively you're delivering your current role, and then how can you derive it as per your for your growth pattern. Like, let us say if you're doing TA well, take up an additional activity of employer branding, right?
Yeah.
Take up
Yeah.
something additionally new and you can contribute to it so that you can grow in the organization. So
Sure.
once we are
Sure. Sure.
performers, I think organizations would also love to give us that path.
More and more responsibilities. Great. Thank you so much, Anusha. I felt that this was really an insightful discussion. And if you see the time, we haven't realized that we have already crossed the time so much. But thank you so much for your time and for sharing your heart out and for sharing those insightful things about your learning, about your journey, about your family background as well. And
Sure.
looking forward for more insightful discussion. And I'm pretty sure that like all our audience will love our discussion, and they will have lots and lots of takeaways as well.
Yeah.
And looking forward to connect again, and looking forward to meet you in our meetup in Hyderabad.
Sure, Praful. I would love to meet you. And once again, thank you for creating such platform where we, if at all 10% of this conversation or 20% of this conversation is yet useful to people, I think it is still effective to have this conversations in place. So hopefully these things are insightful for others, leaving apart all the personal things in place. So yeah,
Yes,
thank you
yes,
so
yes.
much.
Great.
Thanks for your
Thank
time.
you.